This module focuses on the architecture of Microsoft Dynamics e-commerce solution and its components. What we're going to discuss in this module are, we will be focusing on e-commerce solution and highlights. Then we will talk about e-commerce solution pillars. We will further go ahead and talk about e-commerce solution architecture. Then we will start learning about what is AX retail module and commerce data exchange. Then we will further discuss about commerce runtime services, and at the end we will know about what is out of the box online starter store which is available with eCommerce R3. Let's get started with the first lesson about defining an AX e-commerce solution. This lesson provides an overview of features of Dynamics AX e-commerce solution. Microsoft Dynamics e-commerce is an end-to-end solution based on a powerful search technology with a fully integrated web storefront, complete catalog, and real-time order management. The online storefront is built using the cross-site publishing features and the search capabilities of Microsoft SharePoint Server 2013, while the store management is provided centrally by Dynamics AX. A retailer creates an online store in Dynamics AX and then it is published to a SharePoint site. The properties that are defined for the online store is Microsoft Dynamics AX control the behavior of the online store. For example, you define the navigation category hierarchy in Microsoft Dynamics AX and then assign the navigation category hierarchy to the online store. When you publish the online store to a SharePoint site, the navigation category hierarchy is displayed in the online version of the store. Shoppers use the navigation category hierarchy to browse the online store and also to search for products. To create the online store, you must set up the components that enable transactions to be processed for the store. This includes adding assortments, applying attributes, setting up payment methods, and setting up shipping methods. You can also define prices, promotions, discounts, trade agreements, and shipping terms that are specific to the online store, as well as create retail product catalogs for the online store. The products in the catalog become product listings in the online store. When a shopper purchases products from the online store, sales orders are generated from the purchases and sent to the Microsoft Dynamics AX for order fulfillment, and processing and the available inventory is getting updated always at AX. So the online store business processing is facilitated by Dynamics AX Commerce Runtime, which is also called as CRT in short, that is installed on SharePoint Farm. The CRT serves as the intermediary between Microsoft Dynamics AX and an online store. Dynamics AX and SharePoint works in tandem to provide a complete e-commerce solution. If you take a look at this slide, it talks about e-commerce solution, wherein the product catalog for the online store is built by a retailer in Dynamics AX. The catalog is then published to SharePoint, where the online store is hosted. The publishing of the catalog makes the products available in the online store, and the online shopper browses the online store, adds the product to his basket, and then goes through the checkout process to place an order. When he does an order, the checkout process will also include the pricing, tax calculations, shipping cost, and then all these details will be passed from the online store to the SharePoint, and from SharePoint to Dynamics AX through the Dynamics CRT Services. So after the order has been placed in the online store, it is returned to Dynamics AX for the fulfillment and processing. Finally, after the fulfillment of the order, it is delivered to the online shopper through the order fulfillment modules of Dynamics AX. Now let's take a look at the e-commerce solution highlights. The highlights of e-commerce solution are online storefront and content management, which includes fully integrated online storefront, with content management via industry standard tools. Unique search-based technology builds online experience from managed content, authored content, catalogs, and more to deliver the most accurate, timely, and consistent experience. It also includes historical click pattern and device recognition, which ensures that the content is personal and completely relevant. E-commerce solution also includes centralized e-commerce management, which talks about all aspects of storefront management hierarchies, categories, refiners, payments, shopping cart, order fulfillment, shipping, and more managed by Microsoft Dynamics at retail headquarters, which is a fully integrated out-of-the-box solution. Complete catalog management in Microsoft Dynamics significantly reduces complexity in coding, elimination of middleware, non-standard integration, and challenges with order fidelity. Join me in the next lesson where we will take a look at the e-commerce solution pillars. The e-commerce solution allows a retailer to integrate assortment and category management across the channels such as the brick and mortar stores and the online stores, and to provide a consistent and connected customer experience. The customer convenience is improved with cross-channel scenarios such as buy online, pick up in a store. So the cross-channel capabilities deliver convenience and transparency across all channels. The customers can buy, pick up, return, or replace on their own terms. Support for social and mobile commerce means the retailer can offer promotions, discounts, or coupons targeted to devices or social networks and create new opportunity for customer engagement. Dynamics AX solution has 4 key pillars. Let's take a look at them. Moving on with the first pillar, it is about centralized data and order management across all channels, wherein it includes channel management, catalog management, merchandising, and order fulfillment. Moving on to the next pillar, it talks about cross-channel and cross-device workflows, wherein we will talk about cross-channel fulfillment, omni-channel loyalty, in-store orders. Moving on to the next pillar, it's about symmetrical omni-channel retail services. These are more to do with CRT services, which are of pricing, sales tax, and shipping services, even services that includes discounts and promotions and quantity, also about store availability. So moving on to the fourth pillar, which is about out-of-the-box e-commerce solution and a developer platform associated to the solution. So here in this out-of-the-box starter storefront, we will be discussing about retail data exchange and commerce runtime and integrated payment processing service, which is available as a separate solution. Let's go on and discuss the e-commerce solution architecture in the next lesson. The Dynamics e-commerce solution consists of the following components that are distributed across multiple computers and locations, which are AX 2012 Retail Module, Commerce Data Exchange, Commerce Runtime, Online Storefront that leverages SharePoint Server 2013. The high-level architecture of an e-commerce solution is illustrated in this diagram. This diagram shows AX 2012 for retail, deployed in retail head office, as well as online storefront deployed on SharePoint Server 2013. With the indicated two-way connection between head office and the online storefront implemented by Commerce Data Exchange, and the Commerce Runtime component is required to be installed on the SharePoint, which includes a specially configured CRT database that stores the data from the web storefront and shares it with the AX in the head office on a regular basis. Data replication helps ensure critical updates across the organization, including sales order, payments, gift cards, usages, and update to loyalty programs. CRT provides a set of assemblies that connect to the CRT database. The online storefront is a fully search driven and provides online store experience on multiple devices such as PC, tablet and mobile phones. Let's discuss about each component of Dynamics e-commerce solution architecture. Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 Retail Module is a module for Microsoft Dynamics AX that retailers use to manage a chain of online and retail stores as one enterprise. It controls daily operations and tracks sales information for every store in the chain. Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 has a commerce data exchange, which is a communication mechanism of Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 for retail. It is in short called as CDX. CDX provides two services, a async service and a real-time service, where a async service is performed by async server and async client in Dynamics AX 2012 R3. Moving on, Microsoft Dynamics AX has a commerce runtime services which delivers multi-channel commerce capability that has uniform extensibility. It facilitates business processing between the head office and the online store and serves as the intermediary between Microsoft Dynamics AX and an online store. Moving on, next would be the Starter Online Store. A Starter Online Store provides a developer platform that can be customized for specific business needs to reach online customers. The online store is configured at the head office. An online store can be used in isolation or in conjunction with a physical store. The online store leverages Microsoft SharePoint products to provide rich customizations capabilities. Now let's discuss the retail module in AX 2012 R3. The online channel is managed centrally using Dynamics AX 2012 retail module that is deployed in the retailer's head office. The main capabilities of AX retail module includes centralized channel management, wherein it talks about organization model, financial dimensions, navigation hierarchy and channel properties. Moving on, the retail module includes catalog management, wherein there is a dedicated attributes framework with Dynamics AX, a centralized category management, a centralized catalog management and publishing from Dynamics AX to SharePoint through jobs. And last but not least, which is the new add-on with R3, which is kits of catalog management. The retail AX module also includes inventory and pricing management, wherein it holds the data about pricing, discounts, price groups, inventory management and loyalty program. The order fulfillment and call center, wherein the call center is a new feature with Dynamics AX 2012 R3, which includes centralized order fulfillment, cross-channel workflows, integrated payment processing and a dedicated call center sales management module. Now let me show you what the module looks like in AX. So out here I am in system administration module. Let me click on USRT in Dynamics AX and select retail module. So if you see here, common is the area where you will find all the features which are part of Dynamics AX retail module. So if you see here, over here there is a retail channel and under which we have online stores. So online store is the one where we will be deeply discussing about how to create an online store and publish the store. Similarly, we will be also discussing about catalogs, assortments and also we will go ahead and discuss about how to create pricing and promotions. And further, if I scroll down over here, the data distribution, wherein the distribution schedule and synchronizing online orders, which is part of periodic. So these are some of the area of focus for us for e-commerce, and we will finally also look about setting up the online store with end-to-end connectivity between SharePoint and AX with the channel integration and the retail scheduler modules. Join me in the next lesson where I will talk about Commerce Data Exchange. Commerce Data Exchange or CDX is the communication mechanism of Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 for retail. All the channels in retail uses CDX to communicate with the headquarters either asynchronously or through real-time calls as shown in this slide. If you see in this slide, the CDX real-time service and CDS async service are the ones which are used to sync the data between SharePoint to the CRT and to the AX. So here AX and CRT database gets asynchronously exchange of data between them through a async server and a async client. Let's go ahead and take a look at what are the different types of CDX services that are available. First to look at is asynchronous data exchange. So asynchronous data exchange is a set of services that periodically shares data among retail components that include the head office, online storefronts and the retail stores. Instead of async client services run at each site. Moving on, next would be the CDX real-time service, which provides real-time synchronous communication between the head office and the online stores and between the head office and the retail stores. Let's take a closer look about asynchronous data exchange service and real-time services in the next lessons. Asynchronous data exchange is the integrated service that periodically replicates data between the Microsoft Dynamics AX database and store database, which includes both online store and brick and mortar stores. So asynchronous data exchange runs as a Microsoft Windows service, which is a dv server.exe that listens for incoming requests or packages. Let me show you how it looks like in a VM. So I am right now in the retail module of Dynamics AX, wherein you find under setup you find a module called retail scheduler, within which there is channel integration and under which you find working folder. So when we click on the working folder here, it takes us to a new form wherein you find a download path and an upload path. So we can always go ahead and configure a different download and upload path for the file storage. So out here already it is configured to one of the folders. So I am just going to copy this folder, and it's taking a while for processing it. So once I have copied, I am going to go to the Windows Explorer and paste the particular path. I think I didn't copy that properly. Let me get back and copy it again. So copy. So coming back, so this is the folder where both download and upload of data gets stored. So right now I am at the download folder, and under which if I go to one of the folder, you can find lot of data package files. So these are the files which are used to sync the data between CRT and Dynamics AX. So moving on, asynchronous data exchange aggregates data into the fewest possible packages and multicast those packages in this manner. Asynchronous data exchange can update multiple recipients with information such as price changes, but can also minimize network load. All data transfers requests such as request to send data to an online store or apply the sales transaction, upload the sales transaction, are initiated by retail scheduler. So asynchronous data exchange supplies the data transfer mechanism. A package can contain data from more than one database table. So when I talk about asynchronous data exchange, it mainly consists of two components, which is CDX async server and a CDX async client. Let's have a look at what is CDX async server in the VM. So coming back to the VM, so I am just trying to go to IIS. where in IIS you have a async server side getting created. So we need to do this during the installation time, which we will talk in the later module. So however, here if you look at, so there is a async server which is configured in the headquarters, which is all about CDX async server. So CDX async server handles asynchronous data exchange at headquarters. Microsoft SQL Server changes tracking on tables which are used to determine data, and this data must be packaged and sent to channels. Based on a distribution schedule, data packages are generated from Microsoft Dynamics AX and deposited into the working folder which I showed you earlier. So now with that, the async server's job gets completed. Moving on, next would be the CDX async client. So CDX async client is a client which handles asynchronous data exchange from a channel. So this is a set of service which sits in services.msc if you go to the VM and have a look at yourself. So data transfer is initiated by the client. At a configurable interval, asynchronous client polls for data to download. If there is a new data, asynchronous client takes the data from the working folder and applies it to the local channel database. Therefore, in a typical configuration, a single instance of async server at the head office takes data from Microsoft Dynamics AX. Let's look at that in this particular slide. So if you see here, this explains the entire end-to-end asynchronous data exchange. So wherein if you notice, there is a asynchronous service instance which is running with the IIS website, and it holds a message DB for itself, and it stores the data from AX into the working folder. Once the data gets stored in the working folder as a data package, now the asynchronous client service will come and pick the data from the working folder and move that to the channel database. During this transaction, the asynchronous client service will store the message data in the message database, each and every transaction that it is performing from the working folder to the channel database. We do have an alternative option of holding an offline database, by which there is a synchronization between the channel database and the offline database, but this is out of scope for this e-commerce module. The offline database is more inline for brick and mortar store. Join me in the next lesson where I will talk about real-time services. Online Store uses a CRT database that is periodically synchronized with Dynamics AX in the head office through the CDX async services. Although most key operations can be performed in the CRT database, certain scenarios require direct access to the data that is stored in Microsoft Dynamics AX. So, an online store calls the CDX real-time service to communicate with Dynamics AX. A real-time service is a Windows Communication Foundation service which gets installed into IIS, and this sits as a separate website which acts as a WCF service. So if you look at this particular diagram, you have a channel and a headquarters. So the channels here are POS device and an online store. So in either of the channel, when there is a direct request which needs to be done to Dynamics AX, it goes through this real-time service calls through CRT, and in turn it directly does the transactions with the AX 2012 database or AX 2012 retail module in short. So always there will be a straightforward request from a channel to the AX database, and then you get back a response through a real-time service back to the channel. So if I move on and show some of the scenarios where these kind of real-time services are called. So first would be issue and redeem gift cards, redeem loyalty points, issue and redeem credit memos, create and update customer records, or create, update and complete sales orders, and even inventory against a purchase order or a transfer order, and last but not least is the inventory counts. So these kind of direct data which we need to get as a real time, we will connect from online store to Dynamics AX through real time services. So moving on to know about what exactly a real time service is, so there is a real-time service which sits as a BC connector between online store which is the CRT and connects to the AX. So when you install the real-time service, the real-time service has a retail salt utility and .NET business connector which gets installed. The retail salt utility provides additional encryption for the passwords and credentials that are associated with the retail system. Real-time uses .NET Business Connector to communicate with Microsoft Dynamics AX. Real-time services uses secure sockets layer, which is also called as SSL, to help secure communication between the head office and the store locations. Therefore, when you deploy a real-time service, you first install a server certificate that was issued by Trusted Certification Authority. Then you must run a PowerShell script which is about install commerce data exchange real-time service.ps1, which sits in the tools folder of your Dynamics AX installation under program files. So once you run this PowerShell script, you get the real-time service installations happened into the IIS, and you create a WCF service through the running of PowerShell script. With this, we will move on to the next lesson where we will talk about commerce runtime services. The Microsoft Dynamics AX Commerce Runtime, also called as CRT, is a component which serves as an intermediary between Microsoft Dynamics AX and an online store. It provides an engine for a retail channel and enables delivery of content and retail services in a scalable way. Commerce Runtime provides a set of assemblies that connect to CRT database that stores business data from the online store. CRT assemblies also use the CDX real-time service to connect to AX. The CRT components are as shown in this diagram. So if you look at this diagram, you have a CDX service which is a sync service, and in turn it connects to Commerce Runtime. So in Commerce Runtime, it is consisting of different layers, wherein mainly it is classified into a data access layer, a service layer, a workflow layer, and an API layer. So first let's talk about data access layer. A data access layer sits on top of the CRT database. In the data access layer, raw data is translated into objects in memory. For example, an object could be a product which has attributes like prices and color. The data access layer has function that you can use to manipulate these objects. Store procedure passes packets of data from the database to the data entities that can be used in the services and workflow. You can update the packet of data to include new fields that you add in Microsoft Dynamics AX. So next let's discuss about the service layer. So service layer is the one where you will find different kinds of queries which are customized existing functionality or add your own services with new functionalities. If you look at this diagram, customers, orders, taxes, pricing, promotion are all set of services which are predefined and available with Commerce Runtime Services solution. So other than this, if there are some customizations required for customers when you want to implement online store for them, so you may need to have other plugins of services which you need to write on top of the Commerce Runtime Services by extending it. So moving on, we also have a workflow layer which is not mentioned in this diagram, but workflow layer is the base layer behind these services. So each and every service is consumed through the workflow layer. So there is a sequence of flow of service calls which happens in a sequential way, which is handled by the workflow layer in the Commerce Runtime solution. So moving on with the application programming interface, which is also called as CRT APIs. So on top of workflow layer is the API layer. You can use this API layer for things such as getting information about items, prices, calculation of shipping charges, and placing an order. So this is the API layer where you will write additional APIs for your custom plugins that you write in the service layer. So overall it's a end-to-end connectivity between service layer and APIs through the workflows. So moving on, let's talk about CRT services. There are several services in the commerce runtime that supports the functionality of an online store. You can add your own services or extend the pre-built services. Services are enumerated as types in the commerce runtime configuration file. So it will be there in your solution as commerce runtime.config. You can add types in the commerce runtime configuration file to control which services are loaded in the commerce runtime. So services are loaded in the order in which they are listed in the configuration file. All the default services are loaded automatically. However, if you add a new service above one of the default services, the new service will replace the default service. So let's take a closer look at the CRT services. Let me move on to the next slide where you will find different set of services which are by default available with CRT. So first let's talk about address service. Address service verifies the addresses and gets the location information like cities, countries or states. Next let's talk about charge service. So this is the service which is used to calculate the auto charges, price charges and shipping charges for a transaction. Moving on, let's talk about currency service. So currency service is the one which converts the currencies based on exchange rates. So these exchange rates are configured and we can even connect to third party services and get these exchange rates and get the relevant data for the currency service. So next would be customer service. This is the service which is used to maintain the customer information. For example, customer's birth date or the information about the address of a customer. So all these data gets pulled through this particular service. Moving on, next would be the dimension service where it enables customers to find the items in your store based on criteria like category or color. Next would be email service which sends email to customers based on an email template defined in Microsoft Dynamics AX. And moving on, next would be a loyalty service. This implements a program that repeats customers rewards and loyalty system. And the most important thing would be the payment service. You can connect your online store to a payment service to provide credit card authorization and utilize pre-configured payment processing. You can also extend the payment service to add additional third-party payment processors. So this payment processors would be a set of DLL which will be stored into a folder and that will be in turn used by the payment service to connect to that particular payment gateway. So moving on would be the pricing service where it obtains the prices of an item in the real time. The price is adjusted based on the base price and any applicable discounts. Discounts can be customized for each retailer. Next would be product availability service. This is a service which calculates the quantities of the product that are available to sell. And next would be rounding service. Rounding service rounds the tender amount based on the tender type and the store. Next would be the most important service which is very essential for a retailer, which is sales order service. This creates a sales order based on a customer's shopping cart. So when a shopping cart is submitted after the checkout process, it does a CRT call and a sales order service gets called and an order gets created and in turn it gets moved to AX. Next would be shipping service, which calculates the shipping cost and determines the shipping options for the current order. You can use shipping data from Microsoft Dynamics AX or from a third-party shipping service. Moving on would be store locator service. This generates a list of stores based on criteria like proximity and product availability. This service is mainly used for data to get for a zip code. So if a customer is from a zip code and you try to get the relevant data for him when he comes to the online store, that's where store locator service gets used. Next would be the tag service. where it calculates the sales tax for the current order. You can use sales tax information from Microsoft Dynamics AX or from a third-party sales tax service. So you can even connect to a third-party sales tax services and then get the sales taxes based on that particular state and get a third-party plugin added to the CRT extensions as discussed earlier. The last would be the totaling service, which calculates the totals on the sales transactions and sales lines. I will see you in the next lesson where we will take a look at starter sites about out-of-the-box storefront. Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 R3 includes a retail online starter store built on Microsoft SharePoint Server 2013 that is modeled after a fictitious online electronic retailer called Conteso. There is also a sample store available that is modeled after a fictitious fashion retailer called Fabricam. So the Conteso starter store is installed when you deploy the eCommerce solution on SharePoint as a part of the solution installation process. You can customize and rebrand the starter online store to meet your needs. You can create your own online store by using some elements of the starter store, customizing some elements and adding your own elements. So in turn, you have a different flavor of the same online store available for you with your customizations. However, let me go ahead and show you a couple of starter sites which are predefined and available with eCommerce for Dynamics AX 2012. So out here, if you see, I am currently with the Conteso store, and this is a out of the box store which by default gets installed as I told you earlier. We also have another store which is available. This needs some changes in the storefront solutions to have it installed for you. So once you install this particular set of SharePoint STP files, you get this particular Fabricam store also configured. So you can choose between both the out of the box stores which particular flavor of a theme that you want to go with, and then further customize on top of it. So this would be a fashion retailer store, and this would be a Conteso would be an electronics store. We reached the end of module 2. I'll see you in the module review. In this module, you learnt about e-commerce architecture in depth. Key things to remember in this module are how e-commerce solution works, the architectural flow of e-commerce with Dynamics AX R3 for retail, and commerce data exchange to the CRT database. You also learnt how to pick content from CRT database to SharePoint through jobs and commerce runtime services. I will see you in the next module where we will talk about installing e-commerce components.